There was an extended Q&A the other day on the Terraria Discord. Now, sometimes Loki will pop on and just answer a few questions here and there. This was different. This session covered a whole lot, and so much, in fact, that I'm going to break this up into two separate videos. Not because I'm trying to just game YouTube, but I honestly think it's just too much for a single video. There's loads of interesting Q&A goodness to share for those who weren't around to read it. And so anyway, about that Q&A, let's go ahead and get started. Loki was still in the grips of his duck psychosis. One of the ducks in my video controls us all. The one that quacks. And in light of that, what better transition than to start with a question posed by Quackington, who wrote, "Are you going to do another stream?" Which is something we would all like to know, I'm sure. Loki wrote, "Sometime, just gotta find time and time enough in advance to advertise it, etc. Maybe next time it will be post-launch and I can have some public folks join." Post-launch, huh? That bodes well for a release date, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Loki carried on by writing about the stream that he's done before. He wrote, "The stream was fun. I have never streamed before, so that was cool and also stressful. Not just for that reason, but also because we were showing mobile live in real time. So, you never know what could happen." Now that's true. No doubt it is a lot of pressure to try to stream and talk and also do things like fight the Moon Lord at the same time. It's a lot to juggle, especially if you're not used to it. On Discord, there were a few people discussing performance of various mobile devices, and so Loki gave an extended answer on that. He wrote, "I am usually at 60 frames per second on my iPhone X, outside of really intense multiplayer action where I can see 40s or even high 30s. Older devices like my iPhone 6S Plus go down more. You can cap at 30 frames per second for a more consistent experience and also to save battery, etc. I cannot stress enough for folks to be realistic with your device and your expectations. DR have given you options to dial back some stuff to enhance performance, but even then, using a 6 to 7 year old device is just going to not be the same as a current one. That is technology, and we don't want to water down the experience for newer devices globally for that. And devices are only going to get newer and newer. Turning off certain graphics effects, capping frames per second, etc. It runs well enough on my 6S Plus, not as well as on my iPhone X, of course." So all of that makes sense, and again, he's stressing that you need to be realistic. If you have an old potato of a phone, maybe it runs, but you're just gonna have to dial back those visual settings. The next question was a bit of a softball for Loki. Here's what Hecko My Lego wrote. "Loki, what does mobile offer to bring people in?" Loki's answer, "I don't know, a crap ton of new content, stuff that now works but didn't before, completely revamped controls, and online multiplayer. I mean, it's essentially a brand new game at this point." Now that was a softball question, but it was a softball that led to a good salesmanship-rich answer on Loki's part. Next, a question about min specs, not for phones, but for servers. Penguin God wrote, "Loki, is there min specs for a PC mobile Terraria server yet?" Loki answered him. He wrote, "I would say any PC that is in any way relevant could run it. But the quality of hosting is going to depend on hardware and internet." No surprises there. This was followed by a good question about potential crashes and how those could possibly ruin a save game file. Feral2 wrote, "Loki, how does one manually save a multiplayer world if there is a risk of internet cutting out? Or does the world autosave before disconnecting?" Loki answered, If your net suddenly cuts out, then there is no way to save it in time. But the world is tied to the host, not the clients. So the server would still be open, and you just exit out of that executable by typing exit, and it will save. There is an autosave too for characters and worlds, but I don't recall the time span. So there you go. Familiar face, Yoshi Boy Gaming 3200, who's posed questions before, had another one for Loki. He wrote, Loki, will you still be able to host a world when you're using a data hotspot? Loki's response, I've seen it done via hotspot and Wi-Fi from device. Hosting from data alone on the go equals all sorts of complications there, from shifting IPs to variable data speeds and stability. Now that's pretty much what I would expect. You can do it, but be careful because it's not as stable a connection as you would probably want for hosting. Next, Loki posted an image of the crafting guide interface, and here it is. And in relation to that, he simply wrote crafting guide with an arrow pointing to this image. So soak it all in. There wasn't really much more explanation than that, but it looks helpful, especially for newer players or for those players who don't like or maybe can't easily head over to the Terraria wiki while playing to search for answers relating to crafting. So there you go. Lord Lua wrote, you are aware that there are thousands of people wanting to play this version, is not it? Loki corrected Lord Lua with millions. And yes, painfully aware. That said, pushing out crap to said millions is even worse. And so I guess the message there is, yes, we're aware that lots of people are eager to play this, but we don't want to push out a subpar product. Remember, Relogic is the company that canceled Terraria Otherworld because it simply wasn't up to expectations, even though it did seem fairly polished and was something that a lot of companies probably would have published just to make a few bucks. So they're being careful, they're rounding off all the edges and putting all the final touches on before they're going to release it. Lord Lua continued with, will the next updates take a long time to arrive? And Loki answered with a timeline. He wrote, launch 1.3, followed by doing fixes, followed by then do some controller and customization stuff, I think, and then new content may be a thing to think about. That is in line with what he has said before, and I think he's actually understating Relogic's commitment to further content patches on mobile devices, at least judging by the comments he's made in the past, but certainly Loki would know all of that better than me. I'm just trying to refer to what he himself has said before. Next, a question about the August 2019 State of the Game post, which is not out yet as of this video's creation. Pinhead Pat wrote, Loki, have you written the state of the game though? Cause like you can't be slacking off. Just kidding. Loki's answer, I have started the shell as I said before, but I need all the info in to actually finish it, and that comes from developers. Now, I will say he had written earlier in response to a similar question from GriffsNow2828 the following. I tend to start the shell for the state of the game pretty early, and then fill it in as the developers send me information. So, I had better have it started by now, lol. So there you have some insight into the process he uses to send out what is undeniably each month's big news release. So it sounds like he's got the framework in place and it's ready to go once the development staff give him what he needs, or maybe what they're comfortable releasing at this point. Now that seems like a good place to stop for now. There was simply, as I said, too much to include everything in a single video without my voice getting a little tired and it just dragging on a little bit. It's good to stretch your legs and grab a drink from time to time, I think. So that's all we'll cover for now. I also say that Loki has really outdone himself lately. What do you guys think? I think he has. He's doing a good job of really cultivating the hype around Mobile 1.3, especially on the Terraria Discord server. He's very much a common face now on the Discord, it seems. Anyway, stay tuned for Mega Q&A Part 2. And as the questions indicated, we are due soon for another State of the Game in the next few days. It should be out around the 20th of August, so do keep an eye out for that. And also keep an eye out for any video I post in reference to it. Anyway, thanks everyone. I'll see you again soon.